What do you say to people who have concerns that these plans don't go far enough?
Bernie Sanders was on PBS and responded to criticisms that the left has of Joe Biden's platform. Now, before I get to the clip, I just want to give you a reminder here on so far what appears to be in Biden's platform. So there was the Joint Policy Task Force that you had the Bernie people and the Biden people working for the past couple months on a proposal to give to Joe Biden on all issues from climate change to healthcare. And some of the stuff they came up with was an improved public option, including covering healthcare for immigrants and dreamers, postal banking, universal pre-K, creating a civilian corps of unarmed first responders to take away some of the responsibilities that police currently have, and an end to private prisons, and also Biden's climate plan, which is not the Green New Deal, but according to experts in the field, isn't all that bad. So just to give you a quick overview here, Common Dreams had a story on this. More work to do, but major step forward. Progressives welcome Biden's $2 trillion green energy plan. Quote, Biden gets a lot right, but he's still got a lot of room for improvement in increasing the scale, scope, and speed in which he addresses the climate emergency. So just a few details from here quickly. Quote, it's no secret that we've been critical of Vice President Biden's plans and commitments in the past. Today, he responded to many of those criticisms. So that's from Varshini Prakash of the Sunrise Movement. So, the big youth climate group that's really been pushing Joe Biden and all politicians when it comes to climate issues. Biden will make a $2 trillion accelerated investment with a plan to deploy those resources over his first term, setting us on an irreversible course to meet the ambitious climate progress that science demands. So that includes, investments in the automobile industry, buildings, electricity, environmental justice, housing infrastructure, and public transportation. And the plan also calls for creating millions of new jobs in the auto industry and other industries related to improving the entire infrastructure when it comes to climate change, and also bringing shifting to a power sector free from carbon pollution by 2035. So that's an improvement on his initial plan. So again, not perfect, not the Green New Deal, but according to Sunrise Movement here, the plan isn't perfect and there are still gaps and places to push, but it's a major step forward and parts are more ambitious than what Bernie Sanders ran on in 2016 or Jay Inslee championed in 2020. We'll have our work cut out for us in making this action a day one priority. So they understand here that the real fight happens once Biden takes the White House. So, this goes to my central argument as well that I'll discuss after I show the Bernie clip, that the real fight here happens not right now, because Biden could say he, supports everything and then is just lying and then doesn't back any of it. The actual fight happens once he's in, and that's where the role of movements come in. But first, let me play the clip of Bernie Sanders responding to criticisms of Joe Biden from the left.
What do you say to people who have concerns that these plans don't go far enough?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't think they go far enough. And the people who are on representing the progressive community on the task forces don't think these proposals go far enough. But the answer is to elect Joe Biden and then to strengthen our grassroots movement to make sure that in all respects, the environment, the economy, healthcare, we have a government that represents all of us and not just the few. But I think it is very hard for anybody to seriously look at these proposals, whether it is on healthcare, whether it's on the environment or climate change, whether it's on education, whether it's in the economy, and not to see that if these proposals were to be implemented, Joe Biden would be the most progressive president since FDR. It's a significant step forward, but in truth, it's not all that I would like.
Okay, first up here, serious credit to PBS for actually asking a question from the left. How often do you see this on television? It's pretty rare. So they're actually representing left-wing concerns here in a question. Good on them. But to Bernie's response here. Now, his comment on Biden being the most progressive president since FDR, if these things are implemented, look, that's a comment people are arguing over. Who cares? It's a rhetorical device. I don't really care whether that's true or not. That's not important. What Bernie says here that is important is the power of movements and understanding that to get anything done, it all starts with a movement. You never see progress happen from the top down. It always happens from the bottom up. And that's going to be the same thing with a Biden administration. So you look at the New Deal, you look at civil rights, look at gay rights. That was born out of movements, not from a president that came in and did it, from the movements that put pressure on those administrations. So to give you one example here, FDR. So this is from Politico here. So they say his claim to be, talking about FDR, his claim to be making it up as he went along rang true. Until he became president, many people regarded him as a feckless aristocrat. In 1932, he campaigned on a balanced budget and purposely blurred the contours of his New Deal, partly because he hadn't figured it out. Like many American leaders, including some of the founding fathers, he could be a bit of a sphinx. So to give you a little more specifics here, this is a script from Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work. He has great clips on YouTube. But let me read just a short piece here to give you an understanding of the kind of pressure that FDR was under. So the coalition of communists, socialists, and unionists was strong enough to basically pressure the then President Franklin Roosevelt during the 1930s to institute 4 basic programs that helped average Americans in a way no previous administration had dared to do. So that's Social Security, unemployment compensation, minimum wage, and an infrastructure program that put Americans to work. So pressure from the left did that, even though FDR had campaigned as somebody who wasn't campaigning on that and was seen as an aristocrat. But pressure from the left, he gave in because of those movements. And it's the same thing when it comes to civil rights, same thing when it comes to gay rights. It takes pressure from movements, but it's a two-way street. So it also, yes, movements, but it also takes an administration that is susceptible to that pressure. So you look at Donald Trump, what's his reaction to these protests? The military, tear gas. So that's what you get. When you're trying to pick someone to go with here, you're not picking someone you like. You're picking the person, in this scenario, you are picking the person that you want to fight. Would you rather fight Donald Trump, who isn't even going to get in the ring with you, who's going to be instead putting in, the military to squash movements? Or do you want someone like Joe Biden, who is already showing that he is susceptible to pressure? That's what this is about. Now, I also want to share a tweet here. This is not my tweet, but a response to this, but I have to start with this. So I tweeted out saying what I just said here. It's pretty simple. With 2 bad candidates like this, you aren't choosing the one you like. You're choosing the one you rather fight. Do you want to fight Trump, who won't even get in the ring with you? Or do you want to fight Biden, who's already begun to make concessions? So someone replied with something I see often. That also means that Democrats have your vote no matter what, and they can get away with anything they want, essentially. Which, upon first reading, that makes sense, right? You show Democrats are always going to vote for them, well, then they're never going to listen to you. But Nick brings up a great point here. This is only true if electoralism is your sole mode of political action. This is the trap that a lot of people fall into, thinking that the only way they can put pressure on the Democratic Party is through voting, when that's not true. Yes, voting is important, especially in the primary, to pick someone who actually is fighting for your interests, but that isn't the only way to put pressure on politicians, on the Democratic Party. You can also do it through protesting, through movements. So there are other means outside of voting that you can use to enact the kind of change that you want. And when we, again, look through history, that's how it's done. It's done through movements. So, look, of course, if you want to relive the primary, yes, all of this would have been a lot easier with Bernie Sanders, because he's somebody who is not even just a politician, he's an activist. It's incredibly rare to have someone like that in a position of power. But Joe Biden is your typical Democratic politician, a typical Democratic administration, who, yes, his positions are not far enough, do not do enough, but he is susceptible to pressure. So when you're thinking about voting, you have to think about it as, which fighter are you picking? Do you want to fight Trump, who's not going to get in the ring with you and is going to use the military to squash you? Or do you want to fight Joe Biden, who is already showing that he is susceptible to pressure?